Hello everyone and welcome to my Corebound theory, part 1. Lost scrapyard. There will be different theories for each of the 7 levels. And maybe theories in between to explain some other stuff. Anyways, the lost scrapyard. It says it's filled with the scraps of destroyed machines. This dormant cave lies at the top of the world. That top of the world thing, we'll get to that in another episode. But let's read the enemy descriptions before we come to any conclusions. Box. Discarded as scrap, they were never given a weapon. They can only move and attack by rolling around. To avoid their attacks, simply jump over them or find higher ground. You may notice something. They don't have any weapons. All they can do is just roll around. They do have cores though. I have a theory as to why this is, but we'll get to that in a bit. Springling. They were scrapped as their movement method was slow and inefficient. Their only weapon is a small gun, but it can't aim at an angle. Use this limitation to your advantage to avoid their attack. Seems like testing for something, right? Let's continue though. Roller. Unlike most machines in the scrapyard, rollers can move at considerable speeds over varied terrain. They shoot slow projectiles at close range, making staying at a distance the best way to avoid their attacks. Okay. You might start to get where I'm going with this. Scraplash. Tethered to the scrapyard's roof, they cannot move horizontally, but can ascend and descend the rope using an internal motor. Once they start charging their attack, they are unable to change their trajectory. Use this opportunity to charge. Okay, one more. Second to last thing, Dreadnought. While their unique movement allows them to stay in the air while conserving energy, dreadnoughts were scrapped as better technology replaced them. That's an important detail. By the way, this better technology is implied to be dreadlings. Spectrum. Built to test tinting the color of light produced by machine cores, spectrums were eventually scrapped when the technology proved useless. With no way to move or defend themselves, very few remain intact once infected machines swarm the lost scrapyard. Notice how it says test. All the lost scrapyard enemies were tests. The box were just testing if they could make a machine that could move and do things on their own. This was probably pretty groundbreaking technology at the time. The Springling was meant to test, okay, what if we give it a weapon? This was an early thing, so they didn't really know how to make it aim. It had to be anchored in a certain way. A whirler was probably meant for more diverse terrain, as this was military testing. The Scraplash was definitely the Scraplash not being able to change their trajectory once they're attacking is probably for the same reason the Springling can't. Yeah. It's because maybe to get the laser fluid to shoot out, it needs to not be jostling around. And then finally, for the Dreadnought, this is probably meant for caves and stuff. Like terrain where there's a bunch of stuff all around you that you can hook onto. And the spectrums, lastly, I think maybe these were meant to eventually identify different robots from different groups. Like, so you have group A and B, you would color A, you would give a group A orange core filters, and you would give group B blue core filters, so you could distinguish them. Pretty cool, right? I think they ended up being shut down because, well, the government didn't like what they were doing. You know, they hadn't really gotten approval. While I'm here, I might as well explain the enemies that appear when you upgrade something to another level. Basically, I don't think the infection can create new robots. So while it's working on that, it just sends already existing ones. This makes perfect sense because what does it send? The Flareling, which is a sometimes better version of the Springling, and the Dreadling, which is a better version of the Dreadnought. Something I really want to point out is that Springlings do sometimes rotate their gun 180 degrees. So, yeah, they just couldn't have it firing while aiming. This was later, I think this is maybe later improved upon in the century. I don't think so. So, yeah. And it says, filled with the scraps of destroyed machines, the dormant cave lies at the top of the world. I think this may have been the startings of some type of testing facility. Or, you know, they were maybe getting their resources from here and testing the robots here. But when the infection started, they had to leave quick. People were getting crushed by boxes and rollers and stuff. So they had to leave, basically abandoning the robots here. So that's Corebound Theory Part 1. Lost Scrapyard. Hope you enjoyed this genuinely bomb theory. You know, it's probably not that good of one, but I do think it's a good contender for what's happened.